Hello everyone, and welcome to day number 48 of our daily Chavetz Chaim. Today we begin the 5th chapter of the laws of Lashon Hara. And the Chavetz Chaim writes the same way that it is forbidden to speak negatively about the things that someone does between him and Hashem, it is also equally forbidden to speak about the things that a person does between him and another person. Even if there is no falsehood involved whatsoever, it is still part of Lashon Hara. Now the Chavetz Chaim says, understand that there are many rules and criteria that need to be fulfilled, and every circumstance is going to be different, and the halachic ramifications of all of these details are very important, and everything will be explained in due time. But for now, we're going to focus on the main part, and that is an example that everyone will agree that is certainly forbidden because there is no positive intention here with what is being said, and that is, for example, if someone sees that someone asks someone else for a loan, which is a biblical commandment to give someone in need a loan, or if they asked them to do them a favor and they refused, or any other, or a sin actually between one person and their fellow man. For example, if someone had an act of nekima or netira, which is different kinds of revenge, where nothing bad actually happened to the person, but they simply withheld doing something good for their fellow Jew. So the halacha is, the Chavetz Chaim says, the person who speaks negatively and relays this information, this story, how so-and-so didn't help so-and-so, since nothing bad, actual bad, came from it because it was simply a lack of helping someone, that is going to be Lashon Hara according to all opinions. And even if the person saw this themselves, and they are 100% positive that the individual could have helped him, given him the loan, done him the favor, whatever it was, and they simply refused to because they just didn't want to, that is certainly going to be 100% Lashon Hara. And the Chavetz Chaim says that this is true whether you are saying about something that happened between two other individuals, or you're saying this about something that happened to you yourself, that you would ask so-and-so for a loan and you were refused, or you would ask so-and-so for the favor and you were refused, or so-and-so took this revenge, again in a way that wasn't damaging or anything like that. Either way, it is certainly going to be forbidden as Lashon Hara. And if it was involving the person themselves, the speaker, then there can also potentially be the sins of Lysikam, Lysitar, different kinds of revenge that could also be involved in this Lashon Hara. In halacha number 2, the Chavetz Chaim continues and says that until now we've talked about the prohibitions that are in all different cases, and things change, and every circumstance is going to be different. But for the next couple of halachos, we're going to talk about the main element of that, and that is because there is no way to justify what this person is saying. It is certainly absolutely forbidden according to all opinions, because he is definitely not intending for anything good to come from what he says. And the Chavetz Chaim says that this is something which is very common, and almost most of the world does violate this halacha, and it's simply because people don't know and they don't understand the halachos. So therefore the Chavetz Chaim says, don't be surprised, I'm going to be a little bit more lengthy with this, and I will explain everything very clearly little by little, so this way hopefully Hashem will take away the urge to do this sin. And the Chavetz Chaim says, it is forbidden to speak negatively about someone when it comes to their lack of having something good. For example, to say that someone is not so smart, or someone is not so strong, or someone is not so wealthy, or anything like that. And the Chavetz Chaim will now explain them one at a time. Firstly, if someone says that someone is not so smart, so he says that this is certainly, obviously, a problem if it's not true, because, or even a little bit not true or exaggerated or anything like that, that is already going to be put into the category of Motzi Shem Ra, of spreading a negative report about somebody which is false. That is much worse than saying Lashon Hara, which is true. And this kind of thing, even if it is true, is certainly going to be Lashon Hara, because the Rambam writes, and these are his words, Lashon Hara is anything that you speak bad about someone else negatively, and you mention anything that is wrong with him or that is missing about him in a degrading way, in any way that could be degrading, and even if it is absolutely true and that person is actually exactly the way you're saying it, that is still going to be Lashon Hara. As the Rambam goes on to explain, also later on, he says that Lashon Hara is anything that will cause, if heard by others, any kind of pain or loss, whether it's bodily or monetarily, or it will hurt him or cause him fear, anything like that is going to be included in Lashon Hara, and therefore the Chavetz Chaim says, obviously, speaking about somebody in this sense that they don't have something good is certainly going to fit into that category and will be considered Lashon Hara biblically according to the description of the Rambam. And the Chavetz Chaim says, first I will explain that which we're talking about right now, which is saying that somebody is not so smart. So this can cause tremendous problems for a person. For example, if the person is not yet married, they might have a very hard time finding a suitable mate if this rumor is believed by people. And if he is working, whether it's a craft or it's teaching, consulting, whatever it may be, he might also lose the business because people will not want to use him. And certainly if he's a rabbi who people go to with questions and he gets a reputation of not being so smart, then in addition to the Lashon Hara, that is, as we've discussed, a tremendously big biblical prohibition, certainly there is also a risk here that he could lose financially because no one's going to want to use him as their rabbi. And in all of these cases, it is also very likely that a person might end up losing their job in whatever field they may be in, because if people start believing this and that becomes his reputation, he will likely not have employment, and then both his life and that of his children and family will all be at the mercy of this person who spoke Lashon Hara and created this false report about them, or even if it's true. Either way, it is going to be forbidden. And if we're dealing with a rabbi, then in addition to all of that, there is also an issue of the lowering of the status of the honor of Torah in the eyes of the people, because they are now going to look at this person and say, oh, look, he's not so smart, and he's not such a, he doesn't deserve the honor and respect, and that's going to be a tremendous disrespect to the honor of the Torah. And it could get into the category of mevaza Talmud Chacham, which our sages say is a wound that does not heal. And through that can be a tremendous loss in the fulfillment of Torah, even because if this rabbi now goes and tries to teach people and tell people, they're not going to listen to him, and the consequences of that can be very dire.